everybody, live from the Disco Shark studio. My name is Annette. I'm the relationships manager here, and to my left we have our other relationships manager, Christian.
Hi guys, how's everybody doing out there? Thank you very much for joining us today.
Awesome, thank you. And today we have the pleasure of talking with Sophia Willits. How are you doing, Sophia?
I'm awesome. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for coming. For those of you that don't know Sophia, she's amazing. She's killing it in her position in real estate, and I'll definitely let her elaborate on that more. But she is the definition of a boss babe. I was gonna say boss bitch, but that too. I just think that you're amazing. Definitely an empowering woman, and I look up to you. When we first met, I was like, oh my gosh, is she real? Like what? And she's like, I don't even have Instagram. I'm like, oh my god, you're just like a ghost, like doing amazing things. But welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing? I want to hear a little bit about you.
Well, I really appreciate the introduction. I like to be more like, I know a lot of people like to be like called the boss or the boss babe or
the boss B word.
But for me, I'd rather just be a leader, because I'd rather not be a boss to anybody. Actually, I want to help everyone grow, because like without that growth, we can't contribute back to our lives and also others' lives that we want to touch. So for me, like I'd much rather lead people into a life of abundance and wealth.
That's amazing. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know that when we had first met, you were like right away, like, how can we work together? How can I help you? Like, so willing to do that. So I definitely see you as a leader. I think that that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So a little bit background on me. I'll tell you just a quick little story about myself. I'm born and raised native to Arizona.
Awesome.
My dad was actually an investor. He's from Austria. He was brought up in the World War II era.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so he was a adopted baby with his aunt. His aunt adopted him. So he had 7 siblings that all got adopted out in the war.
Oh my gosh.
And so he was born on 4/4/44. So I never forget his birthday. So his birthday's coming up. But, like he had a swastika on his birth certificate. Otherwise, they would have killed him as an infant.
What?
And he remembers running away from bombs. So he was a depression baby.
Wow.
And he still has that mentality engraved in him. So when he came to the United States when he was 21 years old, he didn't speak English. He only spoke German. And he got it in with a repair shop where a German mechanic was working on Volkswagens. He never drove a car. He had to learn how to drive a car quickly and acted like he knew what he was doing. But, he hustled, and then he got tired of working for other people, and he moved to other states. Like at first, he came to Connecticut, then moved to California, and then to Arizona. And he had a wife for about 12 years, but ended up not working out with him. But he kept his car lot that he bought.
Mm-hmm.
And then he met my mom at the car lot, which is kind of funny. And he was going through a divorce at the same time, but he ended up selling his car lot and bought apartments.
No way.
So when I was a little kid, we owned apartments, and my dad retired at 36 years old.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So my dad might have only had pretty much no education, and he can barely write, but he's street smart. So when I was a kid, we would go to the apartments. My dad would threaten me. He's like, if you're not being good, I'm going to have you live there with the Mexicans. And I'm like, oh my God, Papa. So my dad wouldn't rent to white. He wouldn't rent to black. He'd only rent to Hispanic. So I was
What are the odds? You end up with the Mexicans.
I know.
Look at
Here
us.
I am. Wow. Yeah. So it's funny, but he's like, the Mexicans are the best working. They don't bring the drugs, but sometimes they bring in 15 people in one apartment unit, and they would line up like sardines, and then you have to get the police involved. But that's what I grew up with. And sometimes my dad would dumpster dive, and I'd hide in the car and be embarrassed and stuff. But growing up with him, it was really hard because he was an alcoholic. He was super mean. And, for me to earn his love, I had to perform. So at 12 years old, I felt like I always had to be pleasing or something. My dad had a lot of issues when I was a kid. So I started hustling. I started selling candy door to door. That was my first job.
Oh.
I've had over 35 jobs. I've always been in sales. I've always been the top producer in most of my sales jobs. And And so then my dad in my 20s finally started respecting me. So it took me a long time to be able to prove myself from pretty much like I could barely pass high school. I think they passed me because they felt sorry for me.
Stop.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I had moments in high school where they felt the same thing because
they're like,
I was a bad kid. Yeah.
Now, Sophia, do you think that what impulsed you so much to continue hustling, like you put it, was the fact that you felt like you had to fill those shoes that your dad had so much, like
I wanted just to like, because my parents didn't give me any money. Like, I wasn't a spoiled kid in our house. Like,
you had to work for it.
Yeah, and we didn't have AC in our house. I thought we were really poor. We were not. My dad, like, if I didn't finish my cereal in the morning, he had it waiting for me for dinner. We didn't waste anything.
Oh my, he was like super frugal.
Oh yeah. So I was like, I want to make some money for myself. So I started young, and like I think being in like a rough childhood, you end up finding the wrong people. So like I think you have to go through a lot of growing pain and go through those relationships to grow on an exponential level. But yeah, so when I got my real estate license, actually, I'll tell you my when I wanted to be an investor, I was, let's see, I bought my first house when I was 19 or 20, and I rented out each room out of my house. So I was cash flowing. At 20 years old, I was a camera store manager, and I was selling cameras, and I thought I was a baller making like 35 grand a year. I was like,
hey, but at the time you were, right?
Yeah,
like you were balling.
A lot of money. I had my first Beamer. It was like a 98. I just thought I was pimping. I just thought it was so cool. Nice. And it was, I bought it for $13,500. And that, back in the day, that was a lot of money. I'm like, I think this was like the early 2000s. So I did that, and then I got into furniture sales from there, and I remember making like my first check of $7,000 in a month, and I was like, man, I'm balling.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
Yeah, this is now 2005, 2006, and I would look at real estate all day when I was at the furniture store. And all my friends were buying properties. And here I am, my dad's selling his apartments that he owned for like 25 years. And he's like, Sophia, don't buy real estate right now. The market's going to crash. I'm like, Papa, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's like, it's going to crash. Don't do it.
And there's always those people that are like, no, don't do it. Like, it's bad investment.
So is it naysayers?
Yeah, my dad. Yes. Unfortunately, he's like looking out for me. But
of course.
So I, like started buying all these properties. Like I was pulling out equity out of my house to buy other properties, and then like I was borrowing, robbing to pay Paul, and like I'm making $65,000 a year, and now here I am at $1 million in debt. And every time I made a payment on my property, I'd lose money.
Yeah.
So like they would add it on the back end because they did these crazy notes. So of course the market crashed. I lost everything. I had 3 foreclosures, gave up my cars, filed bankruptcy, 21 years old. And were people buying furniture? Nope. So I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to have babies. I'm gonna, go do hair. So I got my hair license, finished up my hair license.
We could see that.
Yeah.
Look at your hair.
Yeah, and
hair game is strong.
I got pregnant, and like me and my husband at the time, so I was making like $17,000 a year. I went from $65,000 a year to $17,000 a year.
Right.
And now like here I'm in my late 20s, and then I had my second child, and
this is the hockey player.
This is my little hockey baby.
Shout out to the hockey player.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's very
my
cute.
little Coop. Yeah, his name's Cooper, and Cooper Austin. He's just an amazing kid. But so I noticed that my ex-husband at the time was working at a tire shop, and no matter what he did, he was like, he brought home $650 a week after taxes, insurance. So he thought he made enough. I'm like, we don't make enough money. So I had to like put groceries on credit cards, and like after we had our second kid, we were not making it.
Like struggling.
Yeah, and he would never want to know what our bills were. He worked, and that was enough.
Yeah.
So were you the one that would manage the? So basically, he was just the breadwinner. You would take care of the bills.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case with a lot of families. For instance, my wife. Shout out to my wife, by the way. She takes care of all the bills. I tell her, you know what? Here's the money. I don't know what we have to pay. You take care of that. Because honestly, shout out to women. They are a lot more organized in that regard. So
Yeah, unfortunately, he just didn't realize that the money he was bringing in wasn't enough, and he
Yeah.
didn't want to take ownership of that. So that was one of our biggest reasons why we're not together anymore. But I'm like, well, I need to get back into sales. And he's like, it's not the right time. I actually built a salon in my house, and trying to do hair when you have a screaming baby and a 2.5-year-old doesn't work. And so I'm like, I want to do real estate. And he's like, it's definitely not the right time. I'm like, I've been doing this for a while, and it's, I don't really have a choice right now. So I didn't want to have to borrow money from my mom, and just, I'm like, I was sitting at the salon I was working at, and I looked at my savings account, or the 401, and it said $346. I'm like, man, I'm fucked. I'm like, this is not working. And and then after having a baby too, you don't feel great about yourself and stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to go to real estate school. So I made my ex-husband take out a loan of $14,000 out of his 401k. And it was definitely a fight.
Yeah.
We were not on the same page. I found someone on Craigslist that could watch my kids, and I was still breastfeeding at the time. So I didn't have enough milk to give the baby. When I was at school, I would pump in the bathrooms and actually study, sit on the, I'd ask for a chair and just cuddle up and just pump in the bathrooms and just try to because as soon as I was home, it was hard to be able to study with the baby.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to all the moms that are currently in real estate trying to make it happen. Because I have a close friend right now that she's a single mother, and she's trying to get a real estate license. She wants more for herself.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's
hearing
hard.
your story. I could imagine her, and I'm like, yeah, it's hard because I'm seeing her go through it. So it's definitely the struggle. So.
Yeah, so I found someone off of Craigslist, Craigslist was the shit. It still is the shit, And so I just used my resources, but I still felt guilty every time I dropped my kids off. And it was time away from them. And I'm like, it's not what I wanted, but it was something I had to do because my ex wouldn't go out there and hustle. So when I finally got my real estate license, every minute that I wasn't with my kids, I made every moment count. So I wouldn't stop calling until I had an appointment. And the reason why I went with my first broker was because he could do apartments and he could do houses. So I didn't feel so I've been through a recession recently, right? So I lost everything. I'm like, oh, that looks more recession proof. And he gave me a LoopNet lead, and my first investor off my LoopNet lead, I sold my first guy in 10 days.
Oh my God. So for those of the people that are watching, what is a loophole?
LoopNet is the world's largest investment website for commercial property.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so if you're looking to buy there, and also too, if you're a broker, you can get CoStar. It costs me about $1,500 a month to have that service, and that's just for Maricopa.
Okay, so then you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to pay for.
Yes, you can look at it free as a buyer, but you're only seeing half the deals because other brokers only list on CoStar, and CoStar and LoopNet are owned together.
Yeah.
They're kind of the monopoly in real estate. They also own apartments.com. They own 10X. They own all these things, and then they make you do these subscriptions. You have to sign in. They scan your face. I mean, it's terrible. I don't really like them as a business, a company, but you do need them if you're in the multifamily business. So
then you get your license and you go with this first broker. And the reason why you choose this broker is because he also works with apartments.
Yeah, I saw it was more recession proof. He said,
Yeah.
I can also do office. I could do hotel. I'm like, well, I know when I did hair, didn't just want to be a hair cutter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I needed multiple services so
Right.
that way I wasn't struggling. So I saw his, and I interviewed 10 brokers.
Well, I was going to ask, I was like, did you end up staying with that first one, or did
I did for
vet him out?
years.
Oh,
For
awesome.
years, actually. And the funny story is I actually worked for him when I was 17. I was a receptionist, but he fired me because I kept on playing video games on the computer.
You're a young teen.
Yeah. He's like, you look familiar. I'm like, I'm here for an interview. I just showed up. But the reason why I chose him is because he actually sent me a letter at school, and the letter just sat on my countertop for a month, and every day I passed by it.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go see the old dog. And, he's still a broker today, which is great. So, so when I first made my first deal, I was so excited, and I sold 24 properties my first year.
How long did it take for you to
Wow.
get that first deal?
10 days.
10 days.
10
Oh, that's right. You
days.
did say that.
10
That's
days.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is
So when I
Shout
saw,
out to you.
yeah. So when I saw my first check, I was like, oh my gosh, my goal was to sell pretty houses.
Right. Like traditionally, right?
Yeah. And I did open houses, but I would be calling apartment owners and doing apartments. And, setting up open houses is exhausting. I hate it.
And you know what? You're not the first person to say that. Like, I know Ramona said it, and other people that we have on podcasts, like traditional real estate. I mean, maybe because they're now investors, they're like, it's just so exhausting. Like, it requires so much energy.
Right.
So,
yeah. So my ex-husband was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm going to quit my job and do real estate with you, except he never worked again.
no way.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I didn't have insurance anymore or anything. My first real year in real estate made $175,000. My goal was to make like 65 to 100. And so when I had the pressure of him, now our kids were in daycare. He was, taking care of the kids. I went and had to produce more. So our relationship started getting more sabotage because he was like, you're not spending time with the kids. I was trying to call at home. And he's like, you're not paying attention to your son. I'm like, I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to make calls. So
Like, provide.
so I ended up having to go into the office because I would do a lot. But I started doing mass mailings. So I used to do like 3,000 to 4,000 a month. People started recognizing who I was. And then right now, currently, I do about 7,000 mailers a month.
That's amazing.
It does work. The returns are not as good right now because there's only like 96 active multifamily just on the MLS. Normally, there's like 400.
Really?
So our inventory has gotten way worse. And so, but yeah, like I ended up becoming like the top producer at my brokerage and everything.
And this is at what year, to give people like the timeline? Because you went through this recession, you did the hair thing, and then, so this was...
So it was like about a 2-year turnaround or so?
Yeah,
Nice.
to be like, my second year, I think I did about 50 transactions. So,
Okay.
Awesome.
so it was pretty cool. So I kept on going. I hooked up with an investor that wanted to start a brokerage. I encouraged him to start a brokerage. I started the brokerage with him, ended up not being greener on the other side.
Just not the right partnership.
Yeah, not
It
the right
happens sometimes.
partnership. It happens, but I wanted to grow. And then I ended up meeting my new husband. I went through a divorce, meeting my new husband. And he's like, I want to sell luxury real estate. He loved what I did. And so I'm like, go. He's like, I've heard of Sotheby's. So he went to go work at Sotheby's. And I was just there saying hi to him when I was working at the commercial brokerage. And they're like, you should work here. You look like you should work here. I'm like, I sell really ugly apartments. I'm like,
You're like the complete opposite of luxury homes.
yeah. And our partnership over there didn't work out at all. My husband ended up hating doing open houses. He did like a couple and he just didn't want to do it. I'm like, well, that's what you have to do in luxury. But, like he ended up selling a 12-unit apartment complex with me the first like week we were there.
Wow.
Nice.
So, but yeah, we ended up leaving and I ended up starting up my own brokerage because like
Wow.
I didn't exactly fit in anywhere because I'll kind of give you an idea what the commercial world looks like if you're looking at apartments. So a lot of people are like, I want to buy a multifamily deal. Well, 90% to 80% of them are traded off market. And if you're working with the big boys, I call them the big boys, the big brokerages like CBRE, Marcus Millchap, Colliers, those types of places, they're on 50% splits and then they're on a team. So you have to split it maybe another 4 to 10 more ways.
Wow.
So you better be keeping both ends of the deal because if you don't, you're not really making a lot of money. And then a lot of times the larger transactions, that you don't see trade and they're traded privately, those are done with REITs and institutions. They're flying out everywhere to do these $10,000 to $20,000 deal pitches, and then they're getting paid less than a BIP or a flat fee. So these guys are calling maybe 100 to 150 people a day.
Wow.
And these guys are like,
What would you say would be the percentage after the whole transaction is done? They won't be coming back to you at that point because it seems like there's a lot of splitting there. Like,
there's a lot of splitting there.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, if you're looking for a larger project, you want to make sure you're loyal to that broker and then list it again with them. Like that's what I'm currently doing. I'm flipping a lot of apartments. I do 80 to 90 transactions on the broker side, but like I'm doing like 8 to 10 deals a year now personally myself. But now I'm just working with the bigger brokers because I'm like, I don't care if you list a property. It's not about the commission anymore for me.
Yeah.
Sophia, let me ask you this. I was at an event the other day, and one thing that I noticed right off the bat was the regulations, if you will. Talk to us a little bit more about the regulations when it comes to multifamily, because I understand that it's a lot harder to actually be able to communicate with or reach out to some of these owners as opposed to what we do, which is traditional.
There's no such thing as regulations. Who told you that?
Well, not necessarily like regulations itself, but from what I understand, is like you have to have known the person or they had to consent for you to speak to them.
That's not true.
That's not true. Okay, so explain that because I know that's what it's what
They're
a lot of
just
people,
Is it like a tactic to make people scared?
is that what it is?
Because I imagine that's what it'd be.
Here's the thing. So the people that own apartments, like those larger ones, those don't trade that often.
Okay.
Okay. So like those are anywhere from like 5 to 15-year trades.
Okay.
Or holds.
Okay.
The stuff that I'm in, I chase the 2 to like 100 unit range. Those trade every 18 months or less. Sometimes I'll trade the same building 3 times in a year.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I make way more money than the big boys do because I'm chasing something that's constantly trading.
That's available.
Well, thank you for clarifying that for us.
Yeah. So you can actually reach out to anybody. But if you're reaching out to like the big apartment complex owner, you're dealing with a board.
Oh, okay.
Your board of directors. And to get to that one specific person, you're probably talking to their attorney, the receptionist, and maybe they'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So like I'm not mailing those big owners. I'll never get my piece of mail. It's never going to happen.
Well, it'll probably never reach them, like you said, right? It's gonna
You're
go
not
down.
going to reach them because they're going to reach the institutional brokerages.
Yeah.
Right.
So my whole thing is starting a syndication where we can take down those institutional deals ourselves and us be the buyers.
Right.
Let me give you an example. So you ever hear of the apartments, the Tides?
Yeah. I was telling you that when we were out at lunch. So I have a friend that actually lives like in the Tides in Papago.
Yeah. So
They're like all over the place.
yeah, they've done like I think last year like 300 million, or they're up to like 2 billion or something crazy. Wow. But I actually picked up those young gentlemen at the time, like back in 2015. I didn't take them very seriously, but their funds were real. And their average, like what they'll do is they'll take down a building, stabilize it, paint it, cut some corners, lipstick it up. So like their average, like I'll give you an example of, say like they bought it for like 15 million. Now they're selling the same building for 40 million.
Wow.
That's how you make money in apartments.
By just putting like
Stabilizing
simple
the rent.
cosmetics.
Yeah. So like, otherwise like these little houses are just a big waste of time. You know what I mean? Like,
is that why there's a lot of remodeling whenever you change apartments? I mean, I've lived in a fair share of apartments in my life, and I noticed one thing that I did notice is like every time I would go to another apartment, they'd say, "Oh yeah, that one's newly remodeled," and like sure enough, I mean like sometimes the paint job wasn't all the best, but like for sure, yeah, I had a fresh coat of paint and whatnot. So
yeah, they're just that's what we call a turnover. So, but for me now, like I'm creating and forcing value. So our prices are as much as houses. Our apartments, I mean, the average sales price now is up to $300,000 a unit. It's like, how would you make it make sense? So me right now, like I'm going to be doing an event at one of our buildings. Hopefully it'll be the 10th of this month. It's going to be in Tempe, and it's a 20
February, right?
Yeah, yes. This is a building that I bought off market with a broker. I had him list the property, rewarded him back. I bought that building at $190 a door. I'm trading it currently at $285,000, and I got a really good loan on it as well. I only put 20% down. They gave me $400,000 in rehab and interest only loan, and I'm making $1.4 million on it. I also want to teach you guys how you don't have to pay taxes on that if you guys put it in a self-directed pension plan or do like a solo 401 where you don't have to worry about 1031 exchanges or anything like that, because at the end of the day, if you're making this type of money, you're going to have to pay some hefty taxes, and I don't want to pay taxes.
So real quick, I mean, she just said it herself, 1.4 million is what she'll be making after this. So
yeah,
I feel like, Sophia, you should be holding some sort of class or like something to teach people, because I think this is crazy. This is amazing, and there's just so much potential that people don't know that they're able to tap into, Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, like I can look at a deal and see if I want to buy it within about 10 seconds or what the value is. But I look at apartments like almost like stocks, like just constantly all day. And then I'm also creating comps that have never been done before. Like I just did a 4-unit over in Old Town Scottsdale. I just sold it at $575 a door. 900 square foot units, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 1970s construction. That is unheard of. And I sold it in 4 days, all cash.
Boom.
Wow.
I mean, so you're saying all these numbers, and I'm gonna be completely honest.
You're like the Wonder Woman of like real estate, I swear.
Yeah.
For apartments.
For apartments.
For
Yeah.
apartments. And apartments make sense. So that one I just made 1.2 million on. And,
Just.
you know, like, yeah.
I know, quite literally. She's like, Jess. I'm like, girl.
Yeah. So, like, you know, it's all about giving back too. Like, honestly, from 2013 to now, I only started flipping in 2019 because I still was that scared person that lost it all in my 20s.
Well, I can imagine, like, you're young, you're fairly, like, new into the industry, and then this entire recession happens. It's pretty traumatic. So, yeah, it's going to leave you kind of traumatized.
I mean, I'd be a freaking, I swear I have close to, like, 500 million if I would have started investing in 2013 because I was selling fourplexes for $100,000 a fourplex. To
Well, the market
200.
was different, right?
Yes, but like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I would have bought in those properties? And like, I had so many people are like investors are like, hey, just throw in your commission on this deal, you make more money, we'll sell it then. I'm like, no, and I just couldn't see the big picture because I was also with the wrong partner at the time too.
I hear you. Everything happens for a reason, though. I feel like everything has its time. So it's definitely a learning experience. Like, obviously, you reflect back on it. So
Yeah, in 2019, I partnered up with an investor that was doing flips, and he's like, just speak at. It was a group called Renata's, and at the time, my current husband was like, no, like, you're spending time away from the kids and blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? I just want to give back. And I did, you know, like, I helped a lot of investors, like, teach them how to do multifamily. And then somebody brought me a deal that was brought by another wholesaler who brought him another wholesaler that didn't perform on the deal. I called the owner directly. I also have a software where I can get a hold of anybody, even Donald Trump, because I'm a licensed, which is great.
I remember you said that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And we looked at each other, we were like, who?
That's pretty
That's
cool.
crazy.
Yeah, so I I called the seller directly. It was actually a broker agent. So he's like, yeah, I had some wholesalers tie me up. And I'm like, I'll buy the deal. I came in hard, non-refundable, no inspection, just bought the property because I knew Tempe market really well. And all I did was after I closed, I did only 10% down on a hard money loan, took some pretty pictures, and I brought in my self-directed pension plan, and I made $375,000 in 6 weeks.
That's crazy. So, you know, all your knowledge behind, like, the apartments, you say, like, you have an advantage because your dad did it and you, like, grew up watching it, like him in the business.
He was a slumlord. Like, there was no doubt about it. He was definitely a slum lord. But for me, I just remember people not paying, all the shit that my dad had to deal with. And I'm like, I do not want to babysit.
Mhm.
All my buildings, I have never, like, I don't keep them long enough to
have to babysit.
And I also definitely hire a property management company because I don't have time. I just rather be finding deals versus trying to collect
Have to worry
someone's
about
And then have
tenants.
somebody else manage it.
Yeah, no. And I think the reason why people hire or trade so many times is these buildings are severely mismanaged. I mean, like, if you drive around and you see a bunch of fourplexes and stuff, most of the time you're like, where am I? I don't look like I'm in America right now. Or, like, people just trashing them with gangsters. Like, just people don't respect the property. And then it's like, if you think about it, like, how do you make as many transactions as I do? I don't meet these clients. I sell the buildings over the phone.
Okay.
I'm really good on the phone, and I mastered my skill because most of our investors don't live here. So I'm able to do so much more than a house agent because I can just talk on the phone. I could be at the gym.
Like, all
I could
virtual.
Yeah. Well, and not even virtual. I just talk to them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I figure out what they're looking for or what they're looking to sell or trade into and just sell over the phone. It's so much easier than trying to, like, I need to show you this and I need to
Right.
romance this. It just takes too much time.
Yeah.
Way too much time.
I can relate to that because, well, part of what I do here as an acquisition manager, I actually, focus on, reaching out to potential sellers. And yeah, that's true. It's so empowering, the fact that you're able to, speak directly to the seller and kind of just, do the whole transaction pretty much over the phone. So, I mean, I can definitely relate.
Yeah,
And
so
people
you
I
can
notice
do it
are,
really
like, they're so
fast.
busy. Like, they don't have time to meet in person.
Well, you're also too, you're not dealing with a homeowner. A homeowner is like emotional.
Right. They have attachment
Oh, yeah.
to the property.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
don't want to deal with me with my house. It's just way too much. Like, I just way too emotional. But when it comes to, like, apartments, you're actually dealing with sophisticated people.
Right.
Regardless if they're an immigrant or someone that just started, there's some type of level of sophistication or entrepreneurship, and they want to talk to you.
Right.
They're actually happy to get your call
Mm-hmm.
versus like,
To speak business,
fuck you, don't ever call me again. It's my
It's
house.
true.
Fuck. Yeah, like
which Christian deals with.
All day.
I gotta teach
No,
you
yeah.
how to speak to people on the
Please,
phone.
Teach me.
So, but like, I'm happy to do a role play with you right now.
Sure.
I mean, so let's
Yeah.
hear it. You say that
Yeah.
you are really good at what you do as far as like talking on the phones. How does a typical like phone call go?
I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
Okay. You're going to own let's go over a deal right now.
Okay,
sure.
cool.
Let's do it.
All right. So you own a fourplex and it's in Scottsdale, and you got one of my mailers, and then you see them trading anywhere from $1 million to 1.2. And you're maybe thinking about investing in something different. You're a doctor, okay? And
So I'm a doctor that owns this fourplex.
yes,
Okay.
And you bought it for like $600,000 back like in 2015, something like that. Your average rents are about $650. You've been raising them slowly, but you're just like you're not stoked about your return. The building's okay; it's an okay condition, but it's not renovated. But okay, but you're gonna call me.
Okay.
All right, ring ring.
Hey, Sophia. I just got your mail.
Oh, awesome. Hi. May I ask who I'm speaking to?
My name is Annette.
Hi, Annette. How's your day going?
It's great.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for reaching out and calling me about your mailer, the mailer that you received. Can I get your property address, please?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dispo Sharks.
Oh, wonderful. Dispo Sharks actually know exactly where that's at. It's over by Holiday Park, right?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, cool. All right. Let me just take down some quick information. Where are your current rents at?
They're about 600.
Oh, okay. So a little bit below market. Are any of your units actually renovated, like brand new kitchens, flooring, or anything like that?
It's so.
So, like,
Yeah.
are they more like classic units?
I believe so.
Oh, okay, perfect. And then, have you done any major capital expenditures, like for the outside, like parking lot, roofs, ACs, or anything like that?
Yeah.
You have?
Oh, I have? Yeah.
Okay. When did you actually complete those?
Just recently.
Okay, perfect. And then, did you actually add covered parking to your units? Are they still currently uncovered?
They're uncovered.
Okay, awesome. And then, do you actually have yards in your units as well?
We do not.
Okay, no problem. And what's your current unit mix? Are they 2s or 1s or?
They're 2s.
Okay, all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, are they all separately metered for electric, gas, or are you paying for any of those?
We're paying for some of them.
Okay, are you just paying for water, sewer, and trash?
Yeah.
Okay. And the rest are separately metered where the tenants are actually paying the gas and the electric.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And then do you actually have a leased laundry equipment, or do you have washer and dryers on site that the tenants own, or do you own them?
We own them.
Okay, perfect. And right now, is it currently professionally managed, or do you manage it yourself?
I'm managing it myself.
Okay. How are you doing that being out of state?
I don't know. Make it work.
Oh, cool. So are one of your tenants on site actually like helping you like keep an eye on the property?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, well, that's great. And then when did you actually buy the property?
2006.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And then I see that you bought it for like back in 2006. They were trading for 300, and that was a lot back then. But let's just say that you bought it in 2016 for 650.
Cool.
Okay, so you bought it in 2016, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and 650,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, perfect. And then, since you're calling me, what is it that you're looking to potentially do right now? What's important to you?
So, I don't know. I'm doing my best here to role play it.
It's okay.
You're looking to
Potentially
sell it, right?
Okay.
Because I was interested in your mail, so
Uh-huh.
I'm giving you a call. Yeah, I would want to sell it
Potentially.
Awesome.
potentially.
Awesome. And then, what do you currently do?
I'm a doctor.
Oh, that's awesome. How long have you been doing that for?
About like 10 years.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And what's your practice?
I'm a cardiologist.
Oh, very cool. And do you have a family?
I do,
if your spouse, or do you have like a partner that's going to be involved in this decision?
So I'm noticing, right, in this role play that you're making it very personable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you target and kind of like building that relationship.
Boom.
I think that's awesome because for us, and especially in acquisitions, we always say like make it more personable. Obviously, you want to build that relationship before kind of jumping straight into business. So I think that's really cool.
Yes. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a great role play.
Like
Yeah.
right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I'm already getting comfortable. We already know each other, but like I can imagine myself as somebody that's going to be a potential seller. Like, yeah, I already like talking to you on the phone. I've never even met you.
I like the question base. I like how you made it really, how you took all the time to actually ask all these questions, gather all this information, so you're not leaving anything behind. You're not leaving anything on the table, right? Because I think a lot of times that's what happens. Or in my case, is that we forget to ask certain questions that at the end can cause you to have a deal dropped, right?
Yes.
For not asking the right questions. I mean, honestly, I think
Oh, thank
that was
you.
amazing. That
Yeah.
was amazing.
Tell me more about your family, Annette.
It's funny because
I have 3
in real
kids,
life I really don't
Yeah,
have
just
a value.
pretend that you have
Yeah,
kids.
I have 2 kids.
Awesome.
I have a husband.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, very good. And then for you and your husband, what are your guys' actual goals right now?
We're looking to focus more on our family.
Okay.
So kind of get rid of a little bit of the business that we have and just focus on that.
So are you looking to, I know like being a doctor, you're probably wanting a bigger tax shelter as well. So you bought it at $650,000, and I'm sure you've seen like the comps are anywhere from like the million to 1.2. So do you know if you want to do like a 1031 exchange, or are you guys looking to like pay the taxes and have liquid that way? Or are you looking to double your investment where you're owning more doors instead of like 4, maybe 8, maybe 20? What is it that is important to you and your husband?
You know what? I guess I'm calling because I would like more of your advice, something, whatever you would suggest, right? We've had this property for quite some time, so we're looking for the best option.
Well, I want to make sure I put you guys actually in a good situation. For me, like I want to make sure that we strategize together so that way we can actually put you in the best position possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you guys actually know where your options are before you guys do decide to sell. Have you actually talked to your tax accountant yet?
I haven't.
Okay, so that would always start there. So let me kind of give you an example. Have you ever done a 1031 exchange?
I haven't.
Okay, well, let me go over that with you real quick. So let's just say you bought your building for $650,000, and I know you said you just put some recent capital expenditures into the property. Would you say you put about $100,000 in?
Yeah,
And you
right.
guys have been writing that off, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just say you bought the building for $650,000, and we're going to take away 80%. Because 20% will be for your land. So now you're at $520,000, okay?
Cool. So
And
if I could add really quick, like
Mhm.
obviously you're taking control. I feel like you're being very knowledgeable. So for people that are hearing and watching this, like you're taking control fully of the conversation. And I think that's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to take $520,000, and then since it's multifamily and it's apartments, they're going to treat it not as commercial, even if you own 5 units. And this is something too, as you get into more units instead of a fourplex, even if you get into commercial property, which is 5 units and above, you're still going to have the same depreciation of 27 and a half years. Versus like if you get into office space or commercial space where it's retail, office, or industrial, then you're at 39 and a half years depreciation. So you can write off and have a bigger tax benefit for
Right.
apartments. And that's why so many people stick with apartments that way. Especially when you're a doctor, you need as much tax shelter as you possibly can. So
Right.
Because they're already making a pretty substantial amount on themselves
Oh,
without
yeah.
having
So,
to worry about any
yeah.
particular properties that they have.
Investments and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to take $520,000. We're going to divide it by 27 and a half years.
So on a real call, Sophia, this is actually what you're
I
you're
am
pulling out
doing
your
this.
phone and you're talking numbers. That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
So on that number, you've been depreciating $18,909 a year. So since you owned it since 2016, 18, 19, 20, about 7 years. So what's going to happen is they're going to recapture the $18,900 a month. And let's just say it's times 7 years. So they're going to recapture $132,300 on top of like the number that's your taxable on that number. So depending what your tax bracket is, if you
Which,
don't,
being a doctor, tax bracket, I'm assuming, would be pretty high.
it could be depending on what the write-offs are. So, and then you mentioned the 100,000. I know maybe she took like a whole depreciation 1 year to offset some taxes or a portion of it. So they're actually going to be recapturing $232,000 in depreciation because you put in the capital expenditure as well too. So this is why like I talk to people, because like if they don't know what their outcome's going to be, I just put that person in a horrific position.
Well, I can imagine that. I'm pretty sure that most people that call literally don't even know these numbers.
They don't.
Like they have these investments, right? But they don't have any idea what's like going up, what's going down. And you like telling them all this, they're like, oh my God.
I think it's great how you set the expectation that way. So you're basically setting them up, letting them know, like, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what the situation
making them aware.
And then I'm assuming you go in for the kill. But wait, this is how I can help.
Yes, exactly. So let's just talk about that gain number there. Let's just pretend that I'm going to say, just keep numbers simple. And let's just say that we're going to trade your building for 1.2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's just put in, just a conservative number of 6 to 7% for closing costs. I'll go over those numbers with you in a moment. So now you're at 1.2 million minus $84,000 in costs. So now you're at 1.116. But wait, let's add on that $232,000 gain as well, because you depreciated that, and they're gonna, what we call is recapture that.
Yeah.
Okay. So your taxable basis will be off of a sales price of around 1.350. Okay. And let's just say like your tax bracket's like 35%. That's $471,000 you're gonna be paying in taxes.
Sheesh.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So what do you think investors do? They want to do a 1031, or they can do it like a self-directed pension plan. I actually maxed out mine. Mine was a limit of 1.5. So then you can do like a solo 401 where you can actually put your properties into a 401 where you're not having to worry about having to do an exchange. You can grow it and all that. But like that. And now I'm not saying that it could be a lot less. It could be more. It depends on your tax account where your actual taxable income is. But how much do you currently owe on your property? Like you bought it for $650. Did you just do like 25% down when you bought it, or what?
Yeah, 25% down.
Okay, perfect. So you've had some years. Like, so would you say like you owe like around 500?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you would actually net after the sale, after closing costs, around $515,000. So $515,000. So that, like, it depends on what you're buying right now. The market's a little crazy. Okay, 2.4. Let me just figure out some quick math.
Guys, while she's figuring out this math,
go ahead.
Really quick, I just want to say, like, this is all free value. Like, anybody that might be interested in investing, like, in apartments, and like, this is a total other different avenue of like real estate. I mean, she is giving you a step-by-step of like how to even talk to a seller. That's crazy. And I just appreciate that. So
no
thanks,
problem.
Sophia. Yeah.
So we could exchange it into up to $2 million. The advantage to you is you're going to have more doors. You're going to have more tenants paying your property off for you, and you have a much bigger tax shelter. Before, when you bought your property at $650, your tax shelter is only $18,000 a year. Now, if you spend up to $2 million, take away the land, 1.6 divided by 27.5. Now your big tax shelter is $58,000 a year.
Wow.
So you want your money to grow faster for you. Not only that, instead of owning just 4 doors, you can own 8 to 15 doors right now, and like you're going to have that huge tax shelter to be able to grow your money faster. Mm-hmm. So the more doors you have, the more like if you think about it, like that's going to just grow your net worth so much higher, so much faster.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And like, for you, Annette, like you guys did the right thing. You bought the fourplex at the right time. It looks like you're only getting like a 3.5 cap on your property right now. But what I say we do, since like, the market's ridiculous right now, let's sell your property at the 1.2 where you don't have to put the capital expenditure in, because your building's going to need at least $200,000 to $300,000 worth of work. So now, like, to make it today's standards, if you're putting in, like, the average door is right now $35,000 to $45,000 a unit to make it, today's standards. So, but what I would do is just sell it at a higher price right now, the 1.2 million, and then we can get you more doors somewhere else, and we'll be able to grow your portfolio a lot faster that way.
Boom. So not only are you buying, but at the same time you're selling them. That's that same person, you're selling them on a different property that you probably already had lined up.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Just absolutely amazing, guys. I mean,
amazing.
That's awesome. Sophia, like, you literally went through step by step of how you talk to a seller. Like, that's gold right there. Absolutely amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Heck yeah.
I've never went into a deal about, like, it's a win. I don't believe in wins.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's, like, for me, like, I like to put someone first.
Right.
And when you put someone first and it's not about the money and you're actually there just to help them, they trust you.
Yeah. You keep it real.
Yeah.
And I've realized that since the first moment I met you. I was like, this woman is so real. She keeps it real. And especially when we had all gone out to lunch and then you came to our event yesterday too. Just, you keep it real. And I really, really appreciate that.
What you thought about our event, by the way?
Yeah, that was yesterday.
I love the mariachi band.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Banda La Llegadora for performing.
I know.
It's such a statement. Like, everybody, like, expects it now, right? Like, there was people literally asking Christian, myself, like, hey, are you guys going to have, like, the banda? And we're like, I guess.
So just a quick statement on that. So at one of the events that we were at out in Tempe not too long ago, the Rolling with Zolan event, shout out to them. That was basically my introduction right there. Like, I would come up to people and they would say, oh, who are you? Well, my name is Christian. Oh, you with the Wholesale? Oh, those, you guys are the mariachi guys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just like our Mexicanness. Like,
sure.
It's just like coordinated. But oh my gosh, guys. But I just want to say it's been a pleasure talking to you. You dropped some fire today. Like, you did not have to go through that wholesaler call. And I think that's such amazing content and such great value. So thank you, guys. I also want to say, if you have any closing remarks, Sophia, for us today.
Please send me your apartments, gracecre.com, or send them over to the Dispo Sharks. I can help them at least underwrite a deal and try to make numbers and make sense. I am going to be launching videos on my step-by-steps on how to talk to people and create a national company that way.
As you should.
Yes.
I mean, I definitely see that potential there. So it's amazing. But you guys, like Sophia said, you could send us your deals here at Dispo Sharks. We're going to forward them to her. She can underwrite them. She's awesome. We want to work with her.
I'm here to help. I'm currently buying right now. I have about $5 to $20 million to spend. So if people can send me their stuff, I'd love to help them.
Amazing.
What's the main angle? There you have it, guys.
There you have it. But thank you again so much for taking the time to come out here to Dispo Sharks, Wholesale Sharks Studio. And Christian, did you have any closing remarks?
No, just thank everybody for tuning in today. Annette, you did a great job. Thank you very much, Sophia, once again for being with us.
Thank you.
Guys, and again, this is all going to be streamed live on our Dispo Sharks Instagram. We also put it on Facebook and all the platforms. So SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. So find us all there. But thank you guys for all tuning in.
Thank you.